Hey tankers, and welcome back to World of Tanks with PR154. We're here in the studio. We've been visited over the long weekend, not by the Easter Bunny, not even by the Easter Bilby, but the Tank Bunny. In this case, Tank Bunny of the Doge Clan in the premium tier 8 Chinese medium tank type 59. They're in a platoon with their clanmate of the Doge Clan, Flash Boom, who's also in a type 59. Obviously a bit of a popular choice for these lads, and was a popular choice for a lot of tankers when it was first released. Such was the popularity of this vehicle that it was causing genuine ecosystem problems for the game, to the point that they removed it from sale in the premium shop because the thing was so darn popular. At that point it was only available through special events or as tournament prizes, but come 2021 the game was a lot bigger, there was a lot more diversity, there's arguably a lot more power creep, and so the settings were right for the Type 59 to be returned to the ordinary sales cycles. Now there's certain vehicles that have been pulled from sale and others that hadn't been pulled from sale. So what made Type 59 so popular? Well, it's the turret armor for one. 300mm of turret armor typically, and that gets thicker and thicker as you get further and further towards the outer circumference of that turret. It's not without its weak spots, however. You've got two cupolas protected by 150mm of armor, but of course that gets thicker as you get further around in curvatures. So you can expect a minimum of about 165mm of armor up to about 190mm. So for tier 8 purposes, certainly that counts as weak spots. Upper frontal plate is not much to write home about, 100mm, but with its 45-degree angle, you get 170mm effective armor out of that frontally. If you're able to use the full 7 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle and fight from hull down, then that upper frontal plate gives you 205mm of protection. Again, probably on the low side for tier 8, but certainly for anything below that, it's going to be quite adequate. Now, one of the real letdowns of this vehicle is the ammunition available to it. You get 185mm on the standard AP, so quite often players are going to be dabbing that 2 key and going for the APCR, which gives them 241mm. Each ammunition type will hit for 250 hit points, which is a little bit more than your standard 90mm hits. This lack of penetration, however, is somewhat made up for by a higher confidence of scoring a hit. Your base dispersion is 0.34 meters per 100 meters, which is okay for a medium tank. Aim time is quite low though, 1.92 seconds, but it's the dynamic dispersion factors that really kick in, where vehicle movement, vehicle traverse, and turret traverse yield dynamic dispersion factors of 0.14, 0.14, and 0.1 respectively. So you can maintain some pretty tight shot groupings on the move and recover quite quickly after movement thanks to rapid aim time and minimal dynamic dispersion. Base damage per minute is also not too bad either, 1,980 hit points per minute, and this is thanks to hitting for 250 hit points per shot on a 7.5 second reload. Power to weight ratio is also not to be sniffed at, giving this vehicle quite a lot of agility. It's propelled Flash Boom forward into the Type 59 to knock it out, and as Tank Bunny's rounded the corner, they've seen over the shoulder the LTTB, so they're using that damage per minute as well to round out its hit points and send it back to the garage for their first kill of the game. And second kill of the game for both platoon and team. And the team appears to be taking control of things in the north. They're pushing up through the 4 line, and between Flash Boom, Tank Bunny, and a Batchati on 12T, they're pushing through the AB line, so looking for some crossfire opportunities. They may have found it here on UDES 3, but unfortunately, despite having fantastic dynamic dispersion figures, those let us down this time, but hopefully the follow-up shot, yes, the follow-up shot manages to connect just fine. And over to Flash Boom now. We'll find out why we call him Flash Boom. Well, there's a Flash Marty and then a boom from Flash Boom, and that sends the SPG packing. Now what follows here is a decision that's very much going to influence the outcome of this game. They've pushed right up to the edge here. They're only a couple of grid squares away from the enemy base. Now if they drive forward, they probably do so knowing that they're going to go into an enemy crossfire. So if they look around, they've got 4 vehicles here, some of whom are rather damaged goods. If we look towards the south, however, on that GH line, the enemy heavy tanks have all broken through. They've busted the defense, and there's very little to stop them from the south. So at this point, Tank Bunny and Flash Boom are making the decision to turn around and head back to base. This is a really long way to go, so we're going to speed this up a little bit. Now the enemy team, now that they've got that initiative in the south, they kind of have 2 choices. They can push up towards the 4 line, or they can push on the base. They're probably not completely aware of how much defense is or isn't on the base, but the enemy AE Phase 1, they've certainly made a beeline for the base, and they've knocked out the friendly artillery piece in the process. So no more indirect fires for Tank Bunny and Flash Boom's team either. The enemy certainly hasn't wasted this opportunity either. They're now 3 kills and a substantial whack of hit points ahead. Now hopefully Tank Bunny and Flash Boom can correct the record here with AE Phase 1 with combined fires from the top, each eating away at it. Flash Boom takes the kill, and this is their third for the battle thus far. This appears to have arrested the enemy push on the base for now. However, there is that low hit point Emil 2 that is still lurking in the city. Now this time around they haven't decided to run a cross-country marathon, and probably for good reason. One, it's a bloody long way, and two, it takes a bloody long time. It's time that Object 777-2 here might not necessarily have. They are surrounded to the north and the south, so if the Doge boys can push in, they might be able to give it some much needed support. They also might be able to isolate the two enemy tanks that are in the south. This includes STA-1 as well as Emil 2, and probably doing this just in time as well. We can see Object 777-2 is now in a shootout with Kunzi-Panzer, so they do need to arrest this Emil 2 as quickly as possible to keep it out of that particular fight. Tank Bunny is the first on station. They've got the APCR loaded, but it is not enough for the thick turret facing on the Swedish Tier 9 heavy tank. Flashboom comes around the outside, hopefully trying to see a bit less turret and a bit more weak spot, and the gun certainly does what it needs to do. The work is not done here yet. STA-1 is still out there. Tank Bunny lines it up, takes a few more hit points off. This leaves it one-shottable for Flashboom, who's going around taking a slightly wider angle, trying to improve their resolution of this fight, and they pick up their sixth kill of the game. Unfortunately, all this came a little bit too slowly for Object 777-2, however. They were unable to defeat Kunzi-Panzer, who was reinforced by TNH VZ-51, who knocked it out to leave the team at one tank the difference. Unfortunately for Tank Bunny and company, that's one tank the difference. That is not in their favour, and in this situation your best bet is to reorganise for a defensive action. That might be just enough to make the difference, in that you might have an opportunity to spot and engage the enemy from cover as they are forced to move on you, thus making them easier to spot in the first place. Now, having a look at the Shiptech TVP here, they'd played quite smartly. They'd tried to move up to the F8 position to try to provide a bit of coverage to the Type 59s, but unfortunately that wasn't quite compatible with the defensive strategy that the guys have gone for here. So we've got Flash Boomers set up with Shiptech TVP on the peninsula now, and Tank Bunny has pushed up towards the north along that zero line to try to cover that approach as well. This is quite helpful in that it essentially divides the team up, but they are positioned in ways that they can support each other. If Tank Bunny gets pushed from the north, they can draw on support from Shiptech TVP or Flashboom, and it looks like they're going to be able to need that support right now that Stridsvagn 81 has appeared on the scene. Now, there isn't a lot of soft cover for Tank Bunny to rely on here, so he is going to have to be relying all on that turret. Now, we did talk about this before. Although the Capoli are a little bit penable, the turret is otherwise quite strong, peaking at about 300mm at the front. Stridsvagn 81 is playing a little bit like it is thinking it could rely on the bushes a little bit more than it really should at the moment, but it's not taking quite as much damage as you might expect. What it has done though is exposed these other vehicles that are fighting it, and unfortunately Kunzi-Panzer has been able to knock out Flashboom, leaving the rest of the team outnumbered 2-1. Now, as much as Tank Bunny probably wants to avenge his fallen platoon mate, they do have to deal with Stridsvagn 81 first. Now, the Stridsvagn 81 has probably smelt a bit of blood in the water, and it has turned the aggression up to 11. They have started to advance between the rocks, so Tank Bunny is moving up to meet them. Now, Tank Bunny does have the hit points to win this fight. If it gets forced into a 1v1 arrangement, he does have the hit points on board to do that. He could probably also rely on continued fires from Shiptech TVP, although they are probably concerned about the TNH VZ-51 amongst other vehicles that are approaching them from the low ground. As it turns out though, they do have the support of Shiptech TVP. They are putting their gun into the game as well and getting the consistent hits on Stridsvagn 81 as it manoeuvres to try to avoid Tank Bunny, but forgetting about the wider threat from the tank destroyer. Now, at this point in time, we would probably expect Shiptech TVP to be the first to be rushed, given that they are likely to be the more easily punctured target. They also have the higher DPM. If they were to rush Tank Bunny from the bottom, Shiptech TVP would be nailing them at over 3,000 hit points per minute in their backs. So probably not the best move for the enemy to rush Tank Bunny. So I'd say they're in a fairly solid position here, but there's been some really good decisions made throughout this battle. But this one, I'd have to say, was, checks notes, gameplay on par with a pair of withered testicles. Tank Bunny has tried to be a little bit clever about this and circumnavigate that hill once again. And unfortunately, once they're at the furthest position away, that is when the enemy has made their move. So unfortunately, there's no way Shiptech TVP 100 is going to be making it out of this one alive, and they go down, and that leaves Tank Bunny in a 3v1. Now, he did manage to get back in time in order to get a cheeky shot off at the TNH VZ-51. Not sure if that one was effective. They had gone dark before the shell had impacted, but now we have two vehicles on the cap circle. Tank Bunny is going to have to make a move very quickly and do so under some very adverse conditions. So as far as the enemy team's concerned, Tank Bunny's either pushed north and is going the long way around, in which case they'll probably capped out before Tank Bunny can get into the fight. Alternatively, Tank Bunny has got to push south along his current trajectory, in which case they're going to expect them. There's only like 1 or 2 lanes that they can possibly pop out from. With only 25 seconds to go, Tank Bunny makes their move. Now they do manage to carve a few capture points off Kunzipanzer. UDES III has also joined the fight, so we hadn't seen them since the very early stages of the battle. Tank Bunny getting a shot into UDES III. Tank Bunny and Kunzipanzer are mutually one-shottable. Kunzipanzer rounds the corner and bounces a heat shell. Tank Bunny getting a shot off as well, also failing to penetrate Kunzipanzer. Notice VZ51 is also getting into this fight as well. They're making their charge. Unfortunately, they've failed their shot on VZ51 as well. Now they have 2 guns lining up on them. They take a hit from Kunzipanzer. Fortunately, a bit of a low roll there, but they are able to send Kunzipanzer back to the garage with return fire. They are now hooking into VZ51, who must be on the reload at the moment since we're not seeing return fires, and just as well, there's only a handful of hit points left on Tank Bunny thanks to that low roll from the Kunzipanzer. So Tank Bunny's gonna have to go again. Will the VZ51 be reloaded in time? Doesn't look like it, and they claim another kill. It's just UDES 03 left on the cap, and with 310 hit points left on the tank, it's still a little bit too much for Tank Bunny to assume a one-shot. So fortunately, he's been able to overmatch the poor roof armor of UDES 3. UDES 3 is giving chase. He's got one chance to make this shot, but doesn't quite turn the gun on in time, and that is Tank Bunny's 4th and final kill, and a win by some of the slimmest of margins after a 3v1. Let's take a look at the results. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is an Ace Mastery badge for Tank Bunny of the Doge Clan in the Premium Tier 8 Chinese Medium Tank Type 59. This places them in the top 1% of tankers by experience in this vehicle for the preceding week. He's picked up a fistful of medals here. Defender medal for reducing enemy capture points on a friendly base by at least 70. He's also picked up the High Caliber medal, accounting for at least 20% of the total hit point pool of enemy vehicles. In this case, over 4,500 hit points of damage inflicted. He's also taken 4 kills in the course of this game, 2 of which are over-tiered, which has earned them the Lavachelios medal, which is awarded for destroying 2 enemy tanks or tank destroyers using a medium tank in a battle, but the critical condition here is that those vehicles must be at least a tier higher than yourself. So having taken 4 kills, that's earned them the Fighter Medal, which is granted for 4 or 5 kills. They've got the Bruiser Medal as well for damaging enemy vehicle modules or injuring crew members at least 5 times in the course of the battle. In this case, quite the bruiser here with 14 critical hits inflicted over the course of this battle. Having looked to the team scores, no surprises here. The top 3 places are Tank Bunny, Geek in the ShipTech TVP, and Flashboom in the other Type 59. These 3 vehicles made a crucial contribution to this game. Of course, Tank Bunny coming out head and shoulders above the rest of the pack, having inflicted that order of damage and kills. They've come in about 60% higher than ShipTech TVP. Certainly not to take away from the sort of game they had, or Flashboom with landing 5 kills there. I think we might have had 6 before, but 5 kills as it was, and bringing the enemy team to their knees. Honourable mention on the enemy team to Subaltern Fighter in Emil 2, as well as a Phase 1, who prosecuted their corners quite well, breaking through the southern flanks. Both with quite high damage counts as well, but unfortunately not quite carrying hard enough in this battle. Over to the detailed report, a very profitable game here for Tank Bunny, and that's in spite of quite a serious ammunition bill, having to draw on that APCR, of course, with the tightness of the result and being consistently behind on vehicles. You really wouldn't want to leave much to chance with just 185mm, the standard penetration. They also had a personal reserves bonus going, which has bumped their credit yield up by another 65,000 credits, so a 50,000 credit profit outside of additional reserves. So well done, Tank Bunny, and thank you very much for sending this one in. Now, if you've got a replay of your own that you'd like to see featured on World of Tanks with PR154, we are taking your submissions to be putting on our Twitch channel. And the beautiful thing about Twitch being a live broadcast, I've also got the opportunity to get you in on comms to talk through what was going through your mind and down your barrel. And you can see the products of some of those interviews going up on our YouTube channel. We have a lot of fun doing them. I have some fantastic guests, some very tight replays that are coming out of the community, so would absolutely love to see yours among them. So if that sounds like your jam, do check out the link to our Discord below and drop your replays on the submission platform. In the meantime, happy tanking and take care out there.